Hello, everyone. We are in the course called Nationalism and Constitutional Growth in India, 1858 to 1920, in the MOOC SWAYAM course. Uh, we are discussing about many issues related with Indian independence movement or Indian national movement to say. Um, and of course, our intention is to understand not only the constitutional provision introduced by British Raj or British government, but also to understand the very nature of our freedom struggle, our leaders thinking about the very idea of freedom, but also how they are strategizing to achieve that freedom, how they are going to, uh, you know, come up with counter narratives against British government, how they're going to frame their ideas. And in that process of knowing and also understanding, we have come to this far uh, to talk about one of the event in the history of modern India, and especially in the history of freedom struggle. Uh, those 90 years of churning, which led to uh, achieving that independence that what our forefathers from 1857 envisioned, which resulted into independence in 1947. Since 1857 till 1947, many people lost their lives. Many people were imprisoned and released, then imprisoned and released, and some people died in the prison cells. Some people were hanged to death. Some people were shot at. And in that particular moment, this happens in 1919 to protest against British policy of Rowlatt Act, which was in a way calling the activities of the freedom fighters as revolutionary, anarchical, and revolutionary criminals. And Rowlatt Act, of course, empowered officers to imprison those who are, in a way, uh, disturbing the peace, or they are disturbing the law and order. So the event is called, or the tragedy is called, Jallianwala Bagh Massacre, 1919. In the previous lecture on Rowlatt, we did come up with some of the facts that who all were responsible, from General Dyer to Dwyer. And in fact, Dwyer, we know that was assassinated by the revolutionary called Udham Singh in London because of the 1919 policy. So let us see, uh, things about Jallianwala Bagh. Um, as we know that colonial tensions in India were exacerbated by the First World War, 1914 to 1918. Indians had fought to protect British interests in India and abroad, in Europe, the Middle East, and East Africa. but many returning soldiers could not find meaningful employment. India had also given significant equipment and raw materials for the war effort, which highlighted more than ever uh, the failing of the British administration. The Punjab region in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent was seen as a particularly dangerous place for British interests. The Indians of various faiths, they were remarkably united and politically active, such as the Gadar party of Lala Hardayal, which we discussed about Gadar parties, uh, activities in many of the lectures during the uh, discussion about the extremist, uh, split within the Indian National Congress. And Ghada party, which dedicated itself to kicking the British out of India. The you know the diversity of India, in fact, particularly Punjabi speaking diaspora, uh, started kind of going out and starting relocating themselves into different part of the world, and in that sense they formed a very vibrant group uh, to protest against the British policies, not only in India but also abroad. So all these things were happening. Then came the March 19 Rowlatt Acts. Essentially, these acts allowed the British administration to continue to use the powers of control and imprisonment, which had been employed to repress protests during the World War. Indians were subject to imprisonment without cause, trial without a jury, and a range of punishments expressly designed to humiliate. On 8th April, Mahatma Gandhi, uh, you know, the central figure in the Indian independence movement, called for Indians to suspend work in response to the Rowlatt Acts. Many Indians followed Gandhi's call for peaceful civil disobedience, but the British stood firm and refused to repeal the acts. There were riots, arson, attacks, looting, and clashes with police, including in Amritsar, a city in the Punjab where a mob killed 5 British men on 10th April. There were other notable episodes of riots in Delhi and Ahmedabad. Gandhi was arrested, but he called for his supporters to show restraint, a plea many ignored. As a consequence of the unrest, no public gatherings of any kind were permitted. Now, this is the map of the British Raj, uh, taken by Simeon Natsev. Uh, so if you go by the timeline again, which in a way is kind of repetition that on 18th of March 1919, Rowlatt Act was introduced. Uh, Government actually passed Rowlatt Act, and this act allowed for speedy trials of offences by a special court with no appeal, and authorized the detention of political prisoners without trial for up to 2 years. Now, on 6th of April 1919, Gandhi called for Rowlatt Satyagraha, which was non-violent Satyagraha. Um, however violent, anti-British demonstrations erupted in several cities, particularly in Punjab due to wartime repression. On 8th April to 9th April, Gandhiji was arrested on April 8, 1919, and two nationalist leaders, Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal, were arrested on April 9, 1919, without any provocation. And this caused anger among Indian protesters who came out in thousands to show their solidarity with their leaders. In due course, the demonstrations became violent, prompting the authorities to enforce martial law and entrust law enforcement in Punjab to Brigadier General Dyer as a measure to manage any future uprisings. What happened on the day of 13th April is, unprecedented in the history of India. On Baisakhi Day, a large crowd gathered in Jallianwala Bagh, unaware of the prohibitory orders in Amritsar. Brigadier General Dyer arrived on the scene with his troops, surrounded the gatherings, and blocked the only exit point. He then ordered his troops to open fire on the unarmed, innocent civilians, resulting in the death of over 1,000 men, women, and children. On 18th April 1919, Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood in protest. Mahatma Gandhi gave up the title of Kaisar-e-Hind, bestowed by the British for his work during the Boer War. Gandhi was overwhelmed by the atmosphere of total violence and withdrew the movement on April 18, 1919. Non-official committee was formed by the Indian National Congress. The committee had members like Motilal Nehru, C.R. Das, Abbas Tayyabji, M.R. Jayakar, and Gandhi to investigate the shootings. Congress condemned Dyer's actions as inhumane and criticized the imposition of martial law in Punjab. On 14th October 1919, government formed the Disorders Inquiry Committee, also known as the Hunter Commission, to investigate the Jallianwala Bagh shootings. The committee, chaired by Lord William Hunter, had Indian members and submitted its report in March 1920, unanimously condemning Dyer's actions. However, no penal or disciplinary action was taken against General Dyer. In March 1922, the government repealed Act. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre became a turning point in India's struggle for independence from British rule. So the context of violence of Jallianwala Bagh massacre was there was amid civil unrest, riots, and clashes. British authorities lost control of Amritsar by April 11, 1919. General Dyer was sent to restore order, and tensions were high due to the murder of five Europeans. Massacre and aftermath. If you know that on April 13, 1919, Dyer ordered troops to open fire on a crowd in Jallianwala Bagh, resulting in hundreds of deaths and injuries. Dyer defended his actions, believing it was necessary to prevent further unrest. The massacre was a turning point, revealing the brutality of British rule in India. This is a picture on a screen, the modern mural showing a scene of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre of 1919. Many people just jumped into the well to save themselves, but they died because of the stampede, and because more than 1,000 people were there uh, in the Bagh, Jallianwala Bagh. The exit points were closed, and police officers were stationed on all the exit points, and they indiscriminately, started shooting on the crowd, and hence more than 1,000 people died, and the same number of people got injured, and and including women and children. So, martial law was imposed after the incident, and public gatherings were banned. The massacre fueled public outrage, and Indians across the country condemned the excessive use of force. Uh, Hunter Commission, was to investigate the massacre, leading to Dyer's dismissal from the army. The tragic event had a lasting impact on India's freedom struggle and international perceptions of British rule. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre remains a dark chapter in the history of British colonial rule in India, explaining and exposing the repressive measures employed and contributing to the intensification of the Indian independence movement. This is General Dyer. Uh, the if we go in the root cause of Jallianwala Bagh, it was a kind of socio-political lens that we need to apply to understand the underlying causes of the massacre. Trace back to the British colonial policies in India and the growing internationalist movement, which was seeking greater political rights and self governance. One of the main factors was the Rowlatt Act, which was passed by the British Indian government in March 1919. The act gave the government sweeping powers to arrest and detain individuals without trial for an indefinite period of time. This led to widespread protest and demonstration across India, including in Amritsar, where the Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place. Another factor that contributed to the massacre was the growing Indian nationalist movement, which was seeking greater political rights and self governance. Many Indian leaders and activists, including Mahatma Gandhi, opposed the Rowlatt Act and called for peaceful protests. Um, so, the General Dyer on the screen, the man behind the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, he was Brigadier General Reginald Edward Harry Dyer, an Indian born career soldier of Irish descent, served in Persia and faced questions for expanding British territory without orders, saved from dismissal by ill health. Dyer returned to India, given command of the 45th Brigade of the British Indian Army at Jalandhar. Sir Michael O'Dwyer, who was the governor of the Punjab, known for his unsympathetic stance toward Indian self governance, ordered Dyer to Amritsar amid rising unrest. O'Dwyer and Dyer shared a paranoia about preventing the unrest of 19 from escalating to the level of the Sepoy Mutiny. Rumors of Soviet Russia backing Indian nationalists added to the anxiety. Dyer was tasked to subdue riots in Amritsar following the arrest of two prominent Indian nationalists. Now, Dyer arrived in Amritsar on 11th April. Dyer witnessed the aftermath of riots, including looting, burning, and violence against Europeans. Dyer mobilized 400 men and two armored cars, displayed force through the streets without violence, and then imposed a ban on public meetings and a curfew. Tensions rose amid rumors of resistance. On 13 April, Dyer learned of a planned gathering in defiance of his orders. 15 to 20,000 civilians gathered at Jallianwala Bagh, many unaware of the bans due to being from outside Amritsar. Dyer, with two armored cars and 90 men, arrived at 5 p.m., ordered firing without warning, resulting in a massacre lasting around 10 minutes. Many Britishers initially supported Dyer and O'Dyer, viewing them as preventing further unrest. Lord Hunter Committee, appointed by the British government, conducted a public hearing in November 1920. Dyer admitted no remorse, justifying his actions as necessary for maintaining British control. Committee concluded Dyer's judgment was influenced by racism and mental illness, but only reprimanded both for excessive force. British authorities initially stood by Dyer, but the tide turned as public outrage grew. Dyer was given 6 months' leave and returned to England, where even some British legislators criticized him. Internationalists saw Amritsar as an opportunity to highlight British colonial operation and push for home rule. British establishment, shocked at Dyer's attitude, and public sentiment turned against him despite some press support. The House of Lords voted in Dyer's favor, but he was ordered to resign and retire from the army. British press largely supported Dyer, with the Morning Post raising a fund for his retirement. Fund collected nearly £26,000 for Dyer, while families of victims received a minimal compensation of £37 each. International impact. If we talk about Rabindranath Tagore returned his knighthood in protest. Pro-British rule in princely states criticized Dyer's excessive force. Indians, including Jawaharlal Nehru, saw the brutality of imperialism and intensified the push for independence. The Hunter Committee to find anyone who failed, and in fact, it failed also to find anyone guilty, illustrated a whitewashing of history. Non-cooperation movement led by Gandhi gained broader support, paving the way for India's independence in 1947. Jallianwala Bagh marked the beginning of the end of British rule in India. So, dear friends, as we got to know about this particular event in the modern Indian history, how colonial policies were so possessive of India that they did not want to leave India precisely because of many reasons, and one was, of course, the economic reason. The also the very docile nature of Indian masses to not resist against the British control and kind of foreign rule, which in a way uh, 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 gave certain kind of freedom to British to control, Indian population. Indians by and large, also collaborated with British Raj, including zamindars and princely states, who were in favor of the British government, so that they will be able to have a, sort of link outside, and they will be able to, get the rewards, and they will be able to get money out of the fund from England. So in that sense, the the violence was the only means to prevail and perpetuate their power, and British government was in a way very much into this kind of exercise, which actually led to British Raj continue for so long. Military historians have been informing us that how those who shot Indian people in Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the foot soldiers, those who actually shot people, were basically from the Indian communities only. So Indians, by and large, in a way, did not defy the very policies and did not defy the orders of the British officers itself also shows that how their mind was in a way kind of captured, and how they became subjugated people to think and judge about the situations and events which is unfolding in front of their eyes. So in that sense, Jallianwala Bagh massacre is kind of time within the Indian independence movement. Uh, to my understanding, killing by the British Raj of innocent civilians in Jallianwala Bagh massacre was a kind of brutality to the maximum. And in fact, some people who belong from India, they were not kind of disturbed by the very the very violence of the British Raj. So violence is not a panacea for problem. Violence cannot be checked. Violence cannot check the revolutionary and criminal activities. And in fact, Jallianwala Bagh became the reference point for all the people in India who were not even participating into the freedom struggle. So Jallianwala Bagh, became a kind of a memory, became a folk tradition. Not only in Punjab but also in different part of India, where Indians tried, to remember, right, recall, and also contribute in the you know in the freedom struggle as a whole. So I'll stop here. In the next segment, we will be talking about the role played by Mahatma Gandhi, and how Gandhi, in fact, is a very very important figure in the freedom struggle because of several reasons. But one reason is that is violence is not beneficial to all problems. Gandhi is in fact saying that non-violence is panacea to the problem of violence. So thank you so much. We will be having discussion on various other topics in the next lecture. Thank you.